everyone abruptly faints and there is sudden blackout, and for a while they experience simulations of future events in their minds. Mark witnesses his own future. He's in his office, drinking heavily, and scribbling in his diary with the words, "Who else knows?" He has a board filled with evidence. He's discovered clues of the blackout which has occurred now. Suddenly, he realizes it's April 29th, 2010. At that moment, masked individuals storm into Mark's office, intending to kill him because he's discovered their plan. Their world is in a state of panic and confusion. Meanwhile, in the chaos of the hospital, Olivia finds herself faced with the urgent task of performing surgery on 8-year-old Dylan to save him from a brain tumor. Despite the uncertainty and fear surrounding them, Olivia successfully saves Dylan's life. However, no one knows who Dylan's father is. Mark and Dimitri successfully manage to apprehend the woman they were chasing. They question her about her involvement in the blackout, but she insists that she also fainted during the event and couldn't be responsible for it. In the aftermath of the global incident, the FBI calls for an urgent meeting. During the meeting, Mark shares his vision of the future with everyone, suggesting that he may uncover the truth behind the blackouts and become a target for assassination as a result. It becomes clear to everyone present that they have all experienced visions of the future. This unsettling realization suggests to him that he may not have a future at all. He may die within the next 6 months. Meanwhile, another agent, Janice, reveals that she saw herself pregnant after 6 months, despite not being married or having a boyfriend. This revelation raises questions about the nature of the visions. Mark also shares his experience, explaining that he saw numerous pieces of evidence related to the blackout in his vision of the future. In response, their boss assigns Dimitri and Janice to lead the investigation into the blackout. Janice promptly begins creating a website where people can report their own future visions, hoping to gather more information about what lies ahead. Meanwhile, Mark and Dimitri start documenting the evidence from Mark's vision in their office. Among the details, Mark recalls seeing the name of the main suspect responsible for the blackouts, Dee Gibson. Additionally, he remembers images of dead bodies and a burnt doll in his future vision. The investigation chart has Blue Hand written on it. The man who attempted to kill Mark had a 3-star mark on his hand. Mark noticed that he was missing a bracelet that he saw in his vision. Mark's wife Olivia was deeply troubled because her vision showed her sleeping with an unknown man at their house, suggesting she would cheat on Mark in 6 months. When Olivia arrived home, she confided in Mark about her vision. Mark tried to reassure her, suggesting that the visions might not come true, and urging her not to worry. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Dylan's father, Lloyd, visited him. It turned out that Lloyd was the same man Olivia saw in her vision, which caused her distress. Back at home, Mark comforted their daughter, Charlie, who was frightened by her own future vision. Instead of asking her about it, Mark received a bracelet from Charlie, the same one he saw in his own vision. This confirmed to Mark that the visions were not fake. Janice and Dimitri were reviewing CCTV footage from around the world at the FBI office. They observed how everyone suddenly fainted simultaneously, and then woke up exactly 2 minutes and 17 seconds later. However, they noticed something peculiar in one video. While everyone in the stadium was unconscious, one man was walking around unaffected. This prompted them to urgently locate this individual. The following day, during another FBI meeting, 18 employees unexpectedly resigned from their positions, possibly realizing, like Dimitri, that they might die within the next 6 months. Meanwhile, the FBI intensified their search for the man seen in the footage, while Mark and Dimitri continued their investigation into the mysterious figure known as Dee Gibson, whose name Mark had seen in his future vision. Later, Janice informed Dimitri that a woman had arrived seeking to meet him. She claimed to have overheard a phone conversation involving Dimitri and her own future, and had an address related to him. This revelation hinted at a deep connection between Mark, Dimitri, and the blackout, although they remained unaware of its significance. Meanwhile, Olivia, Mark's wife, encountered Dylan's father, Lloyd, at the hospital. She recognized him as the same man from her future visions, further adding to the mystery surrounding the blackout. Olivia becomes frightened and distances herself from Lloyd, unwilling to betray her husband, Mark. However, their daughter Charlie begins screaming at Dylan, indicating that she saw him in her future. Meanwhile, the FBI's investigation progresses as they prepare to visit the address provided by the woman. Suddenly, Olivia arrives and informs Mark that she encountered the man from his future vision, who happens to be the father of one of his patients. Mark is overcome with fear, realizing that his premonition is unfolding before his eyes. Anyone in his position would feel terrified, knowing that the man will eventually have an affair with his wife. Mark and Dimitri accompany a local police officer to the location, where they believe Dee Gibson, the key figure behind the blackout, might be present. Upon arrival, they discover a factory bearing the logo of the burnt doll Mark saw in his vision. Without hesitation, they enter the facility and begin their search. Inside, they encounter a man surrounded by numerous computers, suggesting he may hold vital information related to the blackout. The man realizes that the FBI has arrived and swiftly eliminates a female officer with a gunshot before setting fire to the room and causing an explosion. He flees the scene, leaving behind only a phone and a chess piece. It becomes evident that the man is a highly skilled computer genius. The phone reveals a call made from the stadium on the day of the blackout, indicating the involvement of 2 suspects in a significant plot. Dimitri prepares to leave for home when he receives a call from a woman who ominously predicts his death on March 15th, 2010, from 3 gunshot wounds, claiming to have seen it in his future vision. Before he can inquire further, she ends the call, and then he failed to contact her again. The FBI is tasked with tracing the mysterious caller's number. Meanwhile, Dimitri's fiancée, Joey, pays him a visit and reveals her own future vision of being dressed in wedding attire on April 29th. This implies they will likely get married on that day. However, Dimitri is troubled because he believes he will die. To prevent Joey from worrying, Dimitri keeps his visions to himself. Meanwhile, the FBI receives a call from Germany. A prisoner named Rudolph requests to meet. Mark and Dimitri promptly travel to Germany to meet him. Rudolph discloses that during the blackout, he had a vision of traveling to America on April 29th, and Mark had released him from prison. Confused, Mark questions why he would do such a thing. He speculates that Rudolph might assist in solving the case, and urges him to share any information he has about the blackout. The prisoner mentions seeing many dead birds on the ground before the blackout. Mark promises to help release him from jail if this information proves useful. Upon returning to America, Mark and Janice gather more information. They discover a similar incident from exactly 18 years ago in Somalia, where many birds died suddenly, and people in a village fell unconscious. In a flashback to 1991, a child in a small Somali village witnesses birds falling from the sky. Terrified, the child flees to the village, only to find everyone unconscious. Suddenly, a large plane appears in the sky, observing the scene from above. Currently, it has been 14 days since the blackout, during which 20 million people were killed worldwide. Mark informs his superiors about a similar incident in Somalia, and urges immediate action. However, his seniors insist on gathering information from the arrested woman and determining her connection to the blackout first. Despite Dimitri's efforts, the woman refuses to give any information, claiming she is innocent. Meanwhile, Bryce, who previously attempted suicide during the blackout, arrives at the hospital. Lloyd also visits Olivia to discuss his son Dylan's condition, but Olivia avoids him. Back at home, Mark is exhausted. Their babysitter, Nicole, tells him about her fears regarding the future. She describes a vision in which she is drowning, and a man intentionally tries to kill her. Mark reassures Nicole, telling her that he will have her concerns checked out, and advises her to go home and rest. Meanwhile, the blackout continues to cause chaos worldwide, prompting the US president to address the public, emphasizing their efforts to uncover the cause. The president urges citizens to visit the government's website and report their future visions, as this information may provide crucial clues to prevent future disasters. Every country is similarly mobilizing to prepare for potential future dangers. At the FBI, agents analyzed satellite images of the Somali village from 1991, discovering that a private company had erected numerous towers with unique structures. They deduced that these towers likely played a role in causing the blackout. Now, their focus shifts to identifying the company responsible for installing the towers. On the other hand, Janice was gathering evidence when she was attacked by some individuals. Despite her efforts to defend herself, she was shot in the stomach. Fortunately, her fellow agents arrived in time to save her, and the evidence remained intact. Janice was rushed to the hospital, where she survived the ordeal. However, the gunshot had caused irreversible damage to her internal organs, making her unable to have a child. Janice is devastated by this news, but she had seen herself pregnant in her future vision. Meanwhile, the FBI launches an investigation to identify and apprehend Janice's attackers. Dimitri discovers a distinctive blue hand mark on their hands, which correlates with the mark Mark had seen in his future vision. Using this clue, they obtain the addresses of the assailants. Meanwhile, Dylan, who had undergone surgery performed by Olivia, mysteriously leaves the hospital and arrives at Mark's house. Upon Mark's return home, Dylan reveals that he had seen Mark's house in his future vision. Soon after, Lloyd, Dylan's father, arrives searching for his son, claiming he also saw himself in this house in his visions. Mark realizes that Lloyd is the same man Olivia had mentioned, the one with whom she will have an affair in the future. With Olivia now present, the situation becomes tense. Mark, in serious manner, tells Lloyd to leave with his son and never return. Lloyd apologizes to everyone before departing. Dimitri and another agent named L arrive at the same location where nobody is present, but there are numerous dead bodies with blue hands, suggesting they were experimented on. They find a passport with the name Rutherford written on it. Agent L recalls seeing the name Rutherford in a future vision where birds crashed into their windows and died. It seems their future visions are slowly coming true. Meanwhile, Mark and Olivia argue. Mark suspects Olivia of planning to deceive him by inviting Lloyd over. However, Olivia argues that if she intended to have an affair with Lloyd, she wouldn't have told Mark about it. She doesn't understand why she saw the future vision. As Lloyd leaves the scene, he encounters another man named Simon, signaling a significant twist in the story. Lloyd and Simon, both quantum physicists, speculate that their experiment caused the worldwide blackout. Simon suggests they confess to the police, as the blackout resulted in the deaths of over 20 million people globally. Meanwhile, chaos ensues worldwide as people react to visions of their future, leading some people who didn't get visions to form cult groups, as they will die in 6 months. Meanwhile, Agent L confesses to the FBI that he foresaw accidentally killing a woman, leaving her children as orphans, and is tormented by the idea. Overwhelmed by guilt, he jumps from the FBI building, sacrificing himself. In his letter, he expresses hope that his death will alter the future, preventing the woman's demise. This revelation shocks everyone, demonstrating that the future is changeable. Agent L's letter is delivered to the woman, Celia, who is then the focus of a press conference. His sacrifice is shared with the public to inspire hope, showing that they can alter their fates by making different choices. Janice, though unharmed, decides to resign from the FBI because she is unable to become a mother. The senior advises Janice not to give up, reminding her that she saw a future vision of herself being pregnant, suggesting that things may improve for her. Meanwhile, Mark and his wife Olivia strive to strengthen their relationship, with Mark expressing his fear of Olivia betraying him in the future. Mark presents Olivia with a gift, but his moment is interrupted when he receives a call from the office, requiring him to leave abruptly. Lloyd and Simon debated whether to disclose their experiment to the public. Eventually, they agreed to hold a press conference, revealing that their experiment on October 6th likely caused the blackout due to the immense energy used. Meanwhile, Mark alerted everyone that individuals from his future vision, who intended to harm him, had infiltrated the FBI office. He suspected an FBI agent's involvement in their plans. Then they discovered in stadium footage from the blackout day that a suspect wore a distinctive ring. Subsequently, footage from a military base showed a man with a 3-star tattoo handing a briefcase with 6 similar rings to an unidentified recipient. This group appears to be linked to the blackout, suggesting a deeper connection with the events. Bryce tells Olivia that he had cancer and intended to end his life during the blackout. However, his future visions showed him healthy, so he changed his decision. Meanwhile, the FBI enhances status and insists that their experiment isn't to blame for the blackout. However, the FBI officer reveals evidence linking the incident to someone named D. Gibson, suggesting they might have utilized their experiment. Simon teams up with the FBI to uncover the true cause. Meanwhile, Janice presents a structure to Simon. Simon explains that it was designed by him. Its function was to spread plasma energy everywhere at very high speed. Janice reveals that the structure isn't Simon's, but rather one made by D. Gibson in 1991 in a Somali village. She shows Simon a photo of Gibson and informs him about a recent high-tech facility he acquired. Realizing the significance of the Somali village, they decide to investigate further, as it may hold the key to the blackout. Meanwhile, Dimitri locates the woman in Hong Kong who made the phone call. She is heavily guarded, but Dimitri and Mark confront her, demanding to know who will kill Dimitri on March 15th and how. Shockingly, she claims that Mark himself will be the one to kill Dimitri, using his service revolver with serial number A561984. Both Mark and Dimitri are stunned by the revelation, as Mark's service gun bears the same serial number. They are confused by how this could be possible. The woman explains that she foresaw these events during a future investigation. Mark and Dimitri decide to take the woman to the FBI for further questioning. However, FBI agents intervene and arrest them, returning them to America, as they were not authorized to be in Hong Kong. As the days pass and Dimitri's death